Everybody, welcome to another episode of Windshield Time, the podcast where we help you use your windshield time to turn learning into earning. I'm Chris Elmore, and I am joined once again by the interrupter, Harold James Walker Jr. And today on the podcast, we're going to talk to you about applying press play or your process to existing customers. Hang on.
You need to have Alex check what octave you hit. And today we're going to be talking about...
I don't really care what octave I hit. Hold on, let me get some coffee. I do.
Shall we? We shall.
I don't know what octave I hit, and it really depends on where the phlegm is in my throat at the time.
Sure.
Because I can go real nasally, right? I can go real head voice, or I can go diaphragm voice. Actually, that sounded like no. One of the ladies, the Golden Girls. Sorry.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That sounded
So
like
we're gonna
it
go with.
constipated.
We were having another music discussion before we started, and you said you could name 12 Eagles songs.
I said I would.
Hold on, stop. For those of you that don't know who the Eagles are, how sad. Let me say that.
Alex feels attacked right
Alex.
now. Alex is like, the Eagles played for the Super Bowl?
Yes, the Eagles. But you said you can name 12 Eagles songs.
I said I would recognize 12 Eagles songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many did we come up
I
with?
like the Eagles. There's a lot of... Say that again?
So how many can you name? Just name them off top. You just read a list, I'm sure.
Dude. Well, I can get like 5 named maybe.
Go.
Hotel California. Hotel Mississippi.
No. Oh, so you can get 50.
Hotel Hawaii.
You can get 50 Eagles songs, and then you can name 7 of their Canadian songs.
That's right. Witchy Woman. I Can't Tell You Why. Oh, Lord. Oh, what's the one about in a flat top truck? No, in a... What is it?
In a flat top.
No, in a truck.
There's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford.
Ford. Yeah, no.
A flat top truck. Oh my! Let's move on. You're hopeless. You're hopeless.
At least we're 300 podcasts in before you finally realize.
Oh
that.
my gosh!
Okay,
I'm seeing spots now. I was
Okay,
laughing
fine.
so hard.
Shut up. I named 3. You get 9 off the top of your head. Rain Man. Tell me the other 9.
You said Witchy Woman.
Yep.
Take It Easy.
Yep. That's 1.
Lion Eyes.
2.
So today's topic is about
Hotel Massachusetts. All right, let's keep going. What's today's topic?
Yes, let's talk about today's topic. So one of the questions we get a lot when we're doing training is we get a lot of questions. Well, yeah, but how do I apply that to an existing customer?
Everybody is a new customer. This is a person who we've never been to before, and we don't have a membership with, and don't have an issue with.
We train to that a lot because that's the best way to illustrate the concept from the beginning
and the comprehensiveness, right?
Yes.
If you're working with a blank slate, you're allowed to hit every single iteration of the process. If you get into a place where we have a 12-year history with this customer, there are some ways that you might shape what we do.
Flat top truck.
You know what? Flatbed Ford, flat top truck.
but you were so alliterative with it. You were like, "What's the song about a flat top truck?"
Yeah, I was like Kit Kat bar.
I snorted. Sorry.
We're talking about being phlegmy.
Okay, fair enough. So that was phlegm. It wasn't a snort. But no, let's talk about applying our process, which press play, to existing customers, because we get asked that a lot.
Sure.
right? And so we talk about how to introduce yourself at the door. Well, people think, okay, well, how do you introduce yourself to someone that is a brand new customer, you've never been there? Well, we're going to confirm the names. Hi, I'm Chris Elmore from Service Excellence. Are you James Walker? Yes. Well, James, I understand I'm here because you don't have any hot water. Is that right? Yes. Well, thank you for calling us. I'm going to be able to help you out today. By the way, is my truck parked okay where it is? Yes. James, is it okay if we start at the water heater, the first place I'm sorry, is it okay if we start where you first place you notice you didn't have hot water? Well, yeah, that was the shower. Okay, can we start there? Do you mind if I come in? No, come on in. All right, is it okay if I put on my floor savers? No, you don't have to worry about that. The dogs, the kids, whatever's a mess. Well, we just do this out of respect for your home. So to illustrate those points that way, we have to start with a new customer, right?
Sure.
So we illustrate that way. And so then people say, well, what if they already know me? Or what if we've been there before? And I think most of the time as a technician, you're probably asking that question from your standpoint. What if you've been there before? How do you do that? Well, let's talk through that. And we'll use that example. We'll talk about some other things, but let's talk through just the guidelines here. Number one, we're not going to skip any part of the process because just because they did business with us before doesn't mean they deserve less in terms of the process we do and the reasons we do it. Because the reason we introduce ourselves in that way to a new customer are to show respect for them, to show we're prepared, to show respect for their property, to establish control because we're asking questions. They're saying yes to us or they're answering affirmatively. And it's not to manipulate them or trick them for later. None of that. It's just to make them feel good about letting us in their house.
Right.
And if they feel good about that, they're going to feel good about other things that we do. So that's the reason we do it. Those reasons don't go away just because they know me.
Right.
And so if I was coming to your house a second time, but the thing is, how often do you go to a customer's house for a good reason? Or what's the interval when you're going to a customer's house for a good reason?
On maintenance, the fastest is going to be every 6 to 8 months on HVAC maintenance.
It could be, yeah. So we'll call it an average 6 months. If you're doing maintenance, you've been there before. Now, you might have come out for a trouble call, some other time during the year. Like if you're doing HVAC maintenance, it might be every 6 months. If you're doing a plumbing inspection, water heater flush, if you're doing electrical inspection, those kind of things, it might be once a year that you go out there. And then you go out there again when there's a problem. So maybe you were out there 4 months ago and repaired something, and now it's just the regular maintenance interval. So it could be closer together. But here's the thing. You want your service to be memorable, but the customer's not going to remember you for 4 months.
Not easily, unless they've had you like 4 or 5 times, and they start to
could
you have
be.
a
The more you've been
relationship.
there, the longer. Yes, of course, you have a relationship. So let's talk about this is a customer you've been to before, okay? And it's been a while, but you've been there before. The one thing we want to do is we remember the elements, and I'm just going to give you the introduction because I want to be practical about it. I want to give you the introduction things that I would do differently. So you're standing at the door waiting on me. I walk up to the door. Hey, Mr. Walker, Chris from Service Excellence. I was out here last time. You'd probably, oh, yeah. Hey, Chris, good to see you again. Something like that. So already there's a familiarity.
Right.
I already knew your name.
Yes. And I think that even giving somebody the benefit. So it's like you're in a social situation and you're like, oh, I forgot that person's name. Right. And I know I should know their name. One of the ways that you can get around that is you have somebody else introduce themselves. Hey, this is my.
Sorry, keep going.
Obviously, I don't want to anymore because you laughed at me. But what I am saying is you could acknowledge things like, hey, you might not remember, but I was out here last time.
Yeah.
And we took care of your system. How has it been run? Or
yeah, so you can let them off the hook in case they don't remember
your name.
Is
you're letting them off the hook.
But again, the concept of.
What did you laugh at? What did I say
I just look at you.
Flat top Ford or whatever? Flat top truck?
Flat top truck.
Flat top truck.
No, but so think about that point of introducing yourself. Okay, first thing is the names.
Yeah.
So we always want to say our name first and get their name. So in this situation, we're still doing that, and we may say, "Hi, Mr. Walker. Remember me? I'm Chris from Service Excellence." That kind of thing. We might reverse the order of the names,
Sure.
but the same thing we're doing again is we're saying our name and using their name. So
Right.
the principle still holds.
Right.
Okay. So we're still confirming that. And really, I'm not confirming who you are at this point. I know who you are because I remember you from last time.
Right.
And you may not remember my name, but you probably remember. There's a familiarity.
Sure. There's like a context of presence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you. Yeah.
And some technicians, you may push back and go, "Oh, well, I don't remember customers' name." Well, you can read. You got an
Right.
iPad.
It's on. They
you
expect
have
you
it.
to know
Yeah,
their name.
you got that. So again, that's just an example. Then when we go, and let's say I'm out for the annual maintenance, and I was here for the maintenance last time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Mr. Walker, I'm here again. We're going to do that maintenance for you again. You're doing a good job keeping this up.
Yeah. How has it been keeping? You can even say like, "Hey, since we were last out here, how you feel like it's been running?"
Yeah,
I mean, you can get there at the thermostat.
I want to get there at the thermostat or the
Right.
area that of concern, or I mean, or
Sure.
where whatever the device, whatever,
Right.
where I'm going to be talking about it. But the point is, as we go through our introduction, there's a familiarity there, and I'm going to come back to that word in a minute. But okay, so names, confirm the reason.
Yeah.
And there's subtle things you're doing in both of those. Hi, hi, Mr. Walker. It's Chris from Service Excellence. I was here last time. Oh yeah, yeah. You're reminding them
Yeah.
of the past.
Sure.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm out here to do your maintenance again, like I did last year, reminding them of the past.
Right. Is it still okay that I park in the driveway? Or not the driveway, but park in the
Well, thank you as always for being a customer, loyal customer. We appreciate that. And I parked where I parked last time. Is that still okay?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's still okay.
And you know how we do this. We like to start at this.
Yeah. It's the assumptive statement. Hey, I know you've been through this before.
Yes.
You know how we do this.
Mhm.
That invites people, even if they don't, to be like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Familiarity is the thing. And so that's how I would modify that. Now, because there's really three situations. You've never been there before and your company's never been there before. Your company's been there, but you've never been there.
Right.
And you and your company have been there before.
Mm-hmm.
So, you representing the company have been there before. So let's talk about the middle one. What would you do different on the middle one?
Which is interesting, which is you've been there before, but your company hasn't, and you're with a new company.
Is that what I said?
No, I'm just saying that's a fourth scenario. You're like, oh, I was with John's Plumbing. Now I'm with Tim's Plumbing.
Yeah, less common, but that can happen.
Sure.
Yeah, I've done that.
Keep going. Yeah.
So let's talk about that middle one where the company's been there before.
Yes. Yeah.
And
But you haven't.
You haven't been there before. So same thing, but now it's more like the new customer.
Yes.
Except for you're part of it. So, hi, I'm Chris Elmore from Service Excellence. Are you James Walker? Yes. Well, Mr. Walker, thank you. I know we've been out before, but I'm here this time to do your annual maintenance that you've had going for several years.
Mm-hmm.
So again, confirming the reason, reminding them of the past, and I'm going to do that all the way through. Again, thank you, Mr. Walker, for being a loyal customer. And I parked in the street where we always park. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And I'm reminding them. Now, you could open yourself up to, well, the last guy parked in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you could do that. But hopefully not. If it happens.
If y'all are following a consistent process.
Yeah, if you're following a consistent process. If you're not following a consistent process, then maybe you know that and you don't mention that you parked that we should have parked in the driveway. Is it okay where I park my truck? So it can resembles more the new customer part.
Sure.
But you have to be conscious of the fact that your company's been there before.
Mm-hmm.
So just want to hit that. So we're not skipping anything. We're modifying.
Do you want to move into the subtle anxieties portion for this type of encounter? Or do you want to stay at the door with that third type of, because I think where people choose not to do things, it's on the subtle anxieties portion. Like, we've been here before. I'm not going to tell them about.
Well, yeah. And so I'm going to proceed through the process like I always do. Okay. So I've been there before and I've already done the thing familiar at the door. They know I want to go to start at the panel, or I want to start whatever. Maybe it's a thermostat. So they know I want to do that. And so I'm going to try to remember something from the previous time I was there.
Although in this scenario, we're saying that you weren't there before. Like,
we weren't there before, but you said
notes. You might.
Would I skip anything? Address credibility statement if I'd been there before.
Right.
So in any case, we're still hitting every point.
Yeah.
We're just modifying it from familiarity, and there could be the customer might be familiar with it, but not you.
Yes.
Or both of you are familiar.
Right.
You're familiar with the customer, and they're familiar with you. But that word familiar, let's unpack that more.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give you an example from my personal life. I'm going to lower the drawbridge.
Oh, nice.
And let you into the castle that is Chris
Open the
Elmore's
kimono
life.
even?
How does it just go so creepy so quick with you?
Oh, I think that's actually a phrase, but keep going.
Jeez. I don't know. You need to stop watching whatever that is. But, all right, so let's talk about familiar. So my wife and I, there's a restaurant we like to go to out by where we live in the Austin area here. We like to go to this particular restaurant. And it just so happens it's really the only place to get a decent dinner that's not fried around us.
Yeah.
There's plenty of lunch places, but there's not hardly any dinner places. And this place, it's cost a little more than like Applebee's or something.
Sure.
I mean, if you're feeding a bunch of people at Texas Roadhouse or whatever, you're going to pay probably per person about that same thing. Maybe going to Salt Lick.
Sure.
Or Saltgrass Steakhouse, something like that. Anyway, but it's an independent place. It's very unique. It's out in the country. And my wife likes going there because of the decor and just because the feel of the place. It's relatively quiet. And we've been there enough, but you have to make a reservation to go to this place. I mean, you can drop in, but but we make a reservation. We use the app Open Table, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Sure.
Okay. So we make a reservation at this place. Well, there's a lot of uniqueness about it. There's a lot of trivia, if you will. This place is it's just very unique. So when we go there, we've been there enough that we know there's 2 tables we like to sit at. And they're both by the window that overlook the patio and the pool. And we just like sitting there because it feels nicer, I guess.
Sure.
Well, we've gone there enough that there's 2 servers that we want to sit with. Mm-hmm. We prefer Bradley first, and if he's not available, we prefer Pi, P-I. Mm. They're great, but the main reason we go there is because they know us. Mm. I think Bradley called us OG regulars one time. Keep in mind, we've only lived out here 4 years.
Right.
So how are you OG regulars? I don't know. I guess things change fast now.
Sure.
So when we go to this restaurant, we make the reservation. We sit with Bradley. We requested him enough that now he said he went into their system and put his name as the preferred server. Nice. And he put Pi's name in there too. Okay, there's that. Well, there's a particular cocktail my wife likes to drink that you can only get there. It's called a Lady Hancock. Okay, it's
Lady Hancock.
Lady Hancock, and it's got Prosecco. She gets Grey Goose. It's got a little bit of Lillet Blanc, which I guess is a white wine, something or another, whatever.
Sure.
But, and just let me say this. My wife doesn't have a problem here. She just likes that particular cocktail. And she, just won because, anyway, she likes it. But it comes a particular way.
Yeah.
In a coupe glass. It's got a garnish with a lime and I think a basil leaf or a mint leaf on it.
Okay.
And it's pink and frothy.
Sure.
Whatever. She loves it.
You like it. Yeah.
Well, we've gone there a few times and they've tried to put it in a Collins glass or they put it in a different type of glass. They try to put it in a champagne glass and it's just not the same.
Sure.
It comes in the coupe glass.
Cocktails are an experience.
Oh, and it's got a Luxardo cherry in the bottom of it.
Yeah, nice.
So you can tell how frou-frou this drink is. But she loves it. So they changed the recipe on her.
Unbelievable.
Well, before they changed it, we actually had the bartender write out the recipe, and I have a picture of it in my phone.
Nice.
So we were in there several times ago, and Bradley was our server, made one. She didn't like it. We told him about it. We showed him the recipe. He goes, "Oh, I know how to make that one." They changed the recipe, this, that, and the other, whatever. So he makes it. Well, now she's an OG Lady Hancock.
Nice.
Right? And so that's what he describes it as. And so when we go in now, okay, I always get club soda in a Collins glass with ice and a lime. I know what you guys are thinking. Frou-frou stuff, real specific. It's just what I like. So now when we go in, when we make reservations, we know the days Bradley works and when he doesn't, so we usually only go when he's working. We're put in Bradley's section. We go to table 41 or 42 if it's available. And those are all things we know.
Yeah.
They've noted it in their system, so they have that information. But also, Bradley knows us by sight. He knows us by name. He knows that when we come in, we don't even ask. You know how the servers do, can I get you guys anything other than water to drink? That doesn't happen. They sit down. He comes over. Hey, guys, you got your water? I'll get your drinks. We're still doing what we normally do. Yeah. And here they come.
Boom, you're in.
And when we order, he remembers what we ordered. Now, they probably have a system of notes that they use where they do that.
But the thing is it doesn't matter what tools they use, your experience is seamless, right? So,
well, I'm making a point about that for this, and for this long drawn out story. I'm sorry. The point is, of other places we could drive to and spend the money on, that is our place we would prefer to go to.
Sure.
Their menu is more limited. It's a little more specialty. And so we do get pretty much the same thing every time we go.
Right.
But again, when we go there because we're comfortable, we're familiar. They know who we are. They know what we like. They know preferences. So it's like the song.
They've made effort
to
absolutely retain that information.
That's exactly right. They've made effort. But it's like the theme song from the 80s show Cheers.
Cheers. Everybody knows your name.
How does it go?
Cheers. Da, 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 da.
Flat top truck.
Flat top truck.
But it's like you want to go where everybody knows your name.
Right.
And they're always glad you came. Right? That's the words of the song.
Right.
Alex, look up Cheers because I'm sure you've never heard of it. But so that's why we go there. And we feel great when we go there. We feel known. We feel a little bit of status when we go there because we're OG regulars.
Sure.
Kind of
you
thing.
Look down your nose on tables 38 and 37.
Yes.
Of course.
They're not even in the 40s. What
Peons.
are you talking about? But again, it could be an expensive place, but we don't spend a lot there because we know what we like and we get those things. And it's just a done deal. It's consistent. The service is consistent. And even if Bradley's not there or Pie's not there, the service is still consistent because we know how to guide the service to get what we want.
Right.
Because we are understanding the process. And so when you go to that customer you've been to before, or you go to that customer your company's been to before, there's an expectation from that customer that there's going to be a familiarity there. And they're not going to have to repeat everything and tell you everything over again because that's annoying.
Sure.
Now, we go to this restaurant and we don't get Bradley or Pie or servers that we like. We still have an expectation that someone is like that cocktail is going to get made the way she prefers it.
Right.
And so how do we help that? We're reasonable. We show them the recipe for the drink.
Right.
Right.
And you know that you're going to have to do some reframing of this new person's encounter with you, but
Yeah. And so I think it's important. We're talking about how we adapt press play to an existing customer, but you have to understand their perspective in this and what they're expecting, especially if they've used your company before, but especially if you've been there before. If you go to the door and you don't remember them, or you act like you don't remember them, or there's no recognition, or you decide I'm not doing anything different because I'm going to fix it and get out of there, or I'm going to do this and get out of there, knock this one out, then you actually set yourself up to have a worse experience with that customer because their expectations aren't met.
Yeah.
And you could fix it better than anyone who ever fixed it before. You could charge them less than they were expecting. But if they feel like you don't remember them or it's forced, then they're not going to have a great experience with you. And so that's why when we say don't skip anything, because if for some reason we went there and they didn't take our drink order, well, they skipped something, right? Or if they assumed we knew that we had to order drinks and we didn't, we'd be like, oh, wow, this service is not as good as when Bradley does it,
right?
Kind of thing, So you have to be very careful of that, and that's why you cannot skip your process, especially if the company you're with has been doing this process for a while, and it's been consistent.
So I want to talk about the flip side of that thought process. I love the idea of familiarity. One of the most common quotes around familiarity is familiarity breeds what? You know this quote?
Contempt.
Contempt. And so, true story for me, I have a shop that does my HVAC maintenance, and they have the same guy that keeps coming out pretty consistently. And I know him, and he goes through the process. Dustin, he's probably been there 4 or 5 times on maintenances.
Mm-hmm.
He came in, I was doing a training session. I was like, "Hey, what's up, Dustin? Need anything?" "No, man, I'm good, Mr. Walker." He comes back. He's like, "Yeah, it was low on a pound of refrigerant. I threw a pound in there." And I was like, "Wait a minute. You didn't even ask me, didn't tell me, didn't give me options, didn't do anything." And he had become so familiar with what had been in the past, he just assumed that he could shortcut the process.
That's exactly right. He didn't
right?
do
So
he didn't do the process in a modified way.
right,
He just didn't do
he
it.
just didn't do it
Mhm.
because he's like, "Well, we've done this so often."
He assumed
Back to
you knew.
Bradley, if he just got you your drink and suddenly you're on a 40-day Lent fast from alcohol, you could be like, "No, no." So there is a place of where if you didn't know the drink, that's a problem. But if you don't check and make sure that they want the drink,
Mhm.
that's on you because you're assuming, and
Yeah.
to assume is to make an ass out of you and me, obviously.
Oh, we got to drink to that.
Yeah, cheers. Here you go. One.
Are we gonna?
Oh,
There we
is that
go.
awkward?
All right.
There you go.
It would be mean of me to try to spit take you again, but I probably can do
It's
it.
I'm
I
drinking
probably could do
enough
it.
water today, and you're saying enough stupid things that it could happen.
Let's get some applause on that one, Alex.
Flat top 4.
Okay.
We don't have the little push button thing anymore.
No. You don't have the push button thing
You're
anymore.
right.
I have a proxy for the push button, but we can't hear it in here, so I'm just assuming
Oh, he did it
Alex.
in there. I can't. Oh, that makes sense. Gotcha.
Yeah. But he is under strict instructions not to respond for your calls for any kind of sound effects.
That's fair.
He wasn't until now, but now he is.
I'll do my own sound effects.
That is for sure.
Wah, wah.
Okay, just keep doing that.
Wah, wah,
It'll fit.
wah.
But that's the thing about the process is we shortcut the process. The customer is hypersensitive if they know it,
Mhm.
and they're going to be like, wait a minute, I got shortchanged, just like you felt
Yeah.
with your guy because he just assumed,
Right.
right? But if we also do the process and we just assume they're
Mhm.
going to do the repairs we recommend
Yeah.
because they have done it the last few times,
Right.
that's going to bite us as well.
Mhm.
So we cannot skip anything. But I want you to think about the way that customer perspective on it is when we go to that restaurant, we want to feel great about it from the time we walk in to the time we leave. Okay. But you can assume the customer knows the process and you're still not going to skip anything.
Mhm.
I think you should not assume that the customer completely remembers what you're going to do.
Sure.
Okay. For instance, there's a particular. Do you like Brussels sprouts?
Deep fried in bacon. Yes.
Okay, but like roasted Brussels sprouts with
Yeah.
bacon,
Roasted Brussels, but I'm all in.
and you put a sauce,
Sure.
whatever. And so this
A
place.
glaze, a demi glace.
Can I get James's sound effect?
Wah, wah.
No. When you use a word like that,
Yeah.
he plays crickets.
Oh, nice.
So there you go.
It's good.
So they have spicy Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
We don't like the spicy.
Ah.
Okay. And so we order it with the spicy sauce on the side, but every once in a while dip my fork in it.
Dip
But
it, right.
yeah, but it's like we don't like that.
Just too hot for old people. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes my lumbago act up. So we ask them to remove that. So we've ordered them before and forgotten to tell Bradley that.
Interesting.
But okay, so he would assume we would ask for it without it.
Yeah.
And if he was just going on what we said,
Mhm.
and he didn't realize, well, okay, we can't skip this thing here, or I know their preference, I still have to act on that.
Right.
What he does, because we've done it a few times, what he does is he comes back to the table. You guys order the spicy Brussels. You still want the sauce
Yeah. Just
on the side.
clarifying. Right.
Oh, yeah, thanks for catching that. That's
Right.
awesome. Now we feel better because
Sure.
now he helped us out,
Right.
right? So we didn't order something that we weren't gonna eat and then be awkward about having to "Oh, we forgot to do that." We
Right.
forgot to say. He just took care of it. But he's also gotten familiar enough to know that there's certain preferences we have on things like that, and so he'll ask us those things that a new server may not ask.
Right.
And so let's take that now away from clearly Chris and Laura's fruit for dinner place. Let's take that back to a customer because I think there's a balance on assumptions. Assuming a customer is going to do something is not the right way to do it.
Right.
But remembering they have a preference for certain things, like, hey, James, just want to, let's say when I go to your house, the first few times I've been there, and it's even in the notes for the call taker put in that make sure you keep the gate shut. Okay. And the last time you were there, customer made a big deal about telling you to keep the gate shut.
Right.
Well, let's say this time they didn't, but it's in your notes that they want the gate shut. Make sure you
Mhm.
keep the gate shut to keep the dog in the backyard. You go there, they don't say anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you could go about your business keeping the gate shut just because you know to do it. But because the customer made an effort to tell you about it last time, it's in your notes. You need to, by the way, James, I'm making sure to keep the gate shut
Sure.
as I go in and out because I want to make sure.
Address it.
Oh, thank you. I forgot to tell you that. Thank you so much.
Sure. And
That's
well, just for the simple fact that you have the critical eye and the attention to detail to
yeah.
look through the notes, there just adds a higher level of value.
Well, that's exactly right. And we in press play, the A is additional value. And it's sequential PRESSPLAY. Well, it doesn't mean you wait till the end to add additional value. Everything you're doing that's not directly tied to the work you're doing is adding value or
Right.
detracting from value. So the way you look, the way you smell, those kind of things.
Sure.
So there's another server, I'm not going to mention his name, at this location that we do not want to sit with.
Mm.
Like if we knew he was the only table available, we would leave. Or we would order something from the bar and sit outside by the fire pit because of the way this guy talks.
Interesting.
Alex, cue the crickets here. Is obsequiousness. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do. It's somebody who's a kiss up.
Yeah. So it was appropriate, Alex. But he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, no problem. Yeah. And he's really got that. It's like
over the top.
everything is
effusive.
flowing.
Right.
And and we're like, no.
Yeah.
So that detracts from value
Sure.
for us to the point where we don't even want to sit there. We don't even want to be at the restaurant because
Right.
we do not want to sit in his section. So remember the same thing with you and bringing up, not assuming and acting, but maybe assuming and asking. Oh, there's a one.
Whoa. That's nice.
Don't
That's
assume
good.
and act, assume and ask.
Wow.
Do I get a fist bump for that?
That's a fist bump.
Alex, do we have an appropriate sound effect for that? Hold on, let us fist bump. Wonder Twin Powers, activate. Look that up, Alex, because you don't know what that reference is either. So the thing here is familiarity. So when we look at those three scenarios, never been there before, it's hard to have familiarity. But that's why you prepare, because you can bring a little bit of that in there. Listen to the incoming call.
Mm-hmm.
They might say, yeah, I have my two dogs, Rex and Judy, that I don't want you to let out. You go to the door, and there's clearly two dogs there, two golden retrievers.
Rex? Which one is Judy?
And hi, I'm Chris Elmore, Service Excellence. Are you James Walker? Yeah, okay, Mr. Walker, I understand I'm here for this. And you acknowledge, oh, is this Rex and Judy? Oh, yeah. How did you know that? Well, you mentioned it to the call taker when you called in.
I was stalking you on Facebook earlier.
Yes. They don't look anything like they looked in your candid pictures
exactly.
on Instagram. So you can bring a little bit of that in, and that's why you have to be prepared. Okay. What were you going to say? Because you took a breath.
Yeah, I want to say something on this. So the thought
have
process
your finger ready, Alex.
I know. The thought process is people aren't loyal to a great experience. People are more loyal to a good experience consistently than they are to a great experience once.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have a great experience A and actually a great experience B, but they are different from each other, the inconsistency breeds concern about what will happen next.
Yes, I agree with
So
that.
the thought process is you don't need to hit a grand slam and then try this and try that and do that. If you're consistent, people want consistency of experience more than they want one great experience and a different great experience next time.
I like it. I got an analogy for that
I bet you do.
from golf.
Excellent.
Okay. Because there's some golfers that listen to this.
Yeah, like people who work in our company
I'm pretty
who are
sure
forced to listen.
Rory
He
McIlroy
did. He did.
listens to this.
He actually you saw him hug everybody before they give him the green jacket. We were
He
part of that
mentioned his
tribe. He
family,
mentioned us.
Windshield Time podcast.
Mhm.
So in golf, like there's a thing called a scramble. Are you familiar with a scramble?
Yeah.
So a lot of golf courses, you have like a Wednesday night scramble or a Thursday night scramble or whatever. You go and you get put on a team, and it's all different levels of golfers and all
right.
this kind of stuff. And a lot of people go think, I want the guy who hits the ball 350 yards.
Sure.
Well, the guy who hits the ball 350 yards is pretty erratic sometimes too.
Right.
Okay. Not me. You know who I want? I want the old guy who plays from the tips that hits it 200 yards right down the middle every single time.
Sure.
Because I can count on that.
Right.
I can count on having a ball in play every time.
Right.
And I think most people would pick consistency over extravagance, maybe.
Flashes of brilliance.
Yeah, things like that. So, but that's a valid point. So if you've not been there before, you can still bring a little familiarity into it if you prepare.
Yeah.
And maybe the familiarity that you bring into it is regional.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we've been in this neighborhood many times.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Or, oh, yeah, I grew up around the corner. That kind of thing. There's some familiarity you can bring into it. If you have never been there before, but the company has been there before, your familiarity comes from what you know was done before and what notes were made from before.
Yeah.
Still listen to the incoming call, and you can tie back to those things for familiarity, which adds value, right? And then if you obviously have been there before to that customer's home with the same company multiple times, there's a lot of familiarity there. And what I found with customers like that too is I had several customers that you form a relationship with them that kind of goes beyond that, especially shared interests and things like that. I had a guy that I used to go to do maintenance every 6 months. Well, I had been promoted to service manager, and once I had done that, I told him that, and he goes, well, you're going to come up here every month and change my filter for me because I can't do that. And I don't have my son-in-law to do it for me because they moved to Florida or whatever. It's like, yeah, sir, I'll come up and do that. So I would go up there, and I'd go to change his filter for him, and after about the second or third month doing it, I realized I needed to go at lunch.
Yeah.
Because he always asked me if I wanted something to eat, so I just timed it to go at lunch next time. And I got there, he had a sandwich made for me already.
Yeah.
Well, he was into restoring classic cars, and my dad and I were doing some stuff with that at the time, and he gave me some really good advice, and he always had tips for me. So that was about a year that I was doing that, and it was because we formed a relationship because I was consistent, I delivered good service, and I knew him, and I remember to ask him about his cars and his interest, right?
Right.
Another situation like that is I went and did a service call for a guy who was actually from Richardson, Texas, but he lived at the oceanfront in Virginia Beach, Virginia, right on the ocean. And which was a plus for me because I surfed.
Right.
And when you have a place you can park.
Sure.
And not only that, I would go there and do his maintenance quarterly on his geothermal heat pumps. And he said, yeah, when you ever want to come surfing, just call me, let me know, and I'll open the guest house side door, which leads straight into a bathroom. You can park in the driveway, and when you get done, come and take a shower, whatever you need to do. That was gold.
Right.
And the only reason that happened is because I delivered a good service. He was familiar. We formed a relationship, and he would tell me about his business and those kind of things. And I remember a funny story about this guy. He had this old ship's telescope that he liked to show off, and it was just on a teak tripod,
sure, like one of those
huge.
old cool, yeah.
And it was facing the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his house was up on top of the dune, so he could look right down onto the beach, down into the water, out on the horizon. And he goes, yeah, check out my telescope. He shows it to me. He's telling me all about it. It's from like 1890 or whatever, this, that, and the other, off of this ship. It's got the brass plate on it, everything. He goes, yeah, I have it here, and I tell my wife I'm looking for submarines, but I'm really looking at the ladies on the beach.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know how often that's tilted towards the horizon, right?
But no, just things like that. And here's the thing: some people are like, oh, you're taking advantage or whatever. You know what? No, it's community.
Yeah.
And you're a vital part of the community.
Yeah.
And people want to have community. And
people want to have a guy.
Yeah, they want to know they've got a guy. And you know what? If Mr. Rosenberg ever called me, I was there. No problem. And it wasn't because he was doing something for me.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of places to park. I mean, taking a hot shower after surfing in the wintertime is that's a plus.
Right.
In any relationship. But
you just got to realize he was telescoping you when you were out there on the
telescope point. But the point is that those things, that's part of being needed and wanted in community.
Yeah.
With other people. And, we always talk about how a lot of what we do is about psychology and it's about human interaction and those kind of things. And this certainly is it. My wife and I go to that restaurant because when we walk in, they know us. Now, they don't call us by name necessarily.
Yeah.
Except the people we interact with a lot. Like Bradley knows our names.
Yeah.
Pi, I don't know if she knows our names, but she knows definitely who we are. And here's the thing. If we're in the restaurant and they see us, they're talking to us. Because sometimes if we go there for a special occasion, we have more people with us. We sit at a larger table that they're not taking care of or whatever. But we always try. The manager they had for quite a long time, he was also managing a play. They were opening a spa or something that my wife kept asking about. And he would come over and give us an update on the spa when he saw us. And so it's that kind of thing where you feel valued.
Sure.
And we pay a little more for the food. I mean, it's easy to get to, but I mean, you're driving in the pitch black in the middle of nowhere to get to it. But it's worth it to us for that extra thing. And, especially today with the companies we work with and most of the companies we train, they're market leaders in price.
Yeah.
They're in the top 25% of pricing. And when you can create value for a customer like that, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to pay any price and they're not going to haggle. They're not going to have objections. But what it does mean is you're getting the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And they're also not wanting to have to go through the whole process of finding somebody that relates to them the same way that you do. So let's just say they finally get to a price point you don't want to go to that restaurant anymore. Now you're thinking, I got to find another place. I got to find another Bradley. I got to find them to make the drink that I want. Just the headache of transition.
Yes, that's a good one too.
The inertia of this relationship is what keeps us there.
Yeah.
Even when it starts to hurt a little bit.
Yeah. And so the bottom line is when you go to someone, you talk about press play or whatever process you're talking about, in-home sales and service process, you never skip anything. You modify it and you use the familiarity that you have to create that feeling in the customer that they are known, they are valued, they have status, and everybody wants to feel that way. Everybody wants to go somewhere where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Everybody wants that.
Right.
So just remember, we don't skip anything. We don't take anything out. Now, before we end, for those of you who train with us, you know that we have our CAP statement, credibility, agenda, price. That's another one we get asked about because the introduction at the front door, some people are awkward with it to start with, but then it's somebody do I still do it? Yeah, you still do it. Here's how you do it. Well, when it comes to credibility, agenda, price, you're reminding the customer of information you've already given them, maybe once, twice, 10 times. You're going through something that the previous technician did, but you've never done it before. You've never been there before. And so it might sound like something. So credibility, agenda, price sounds like, well, James, I'm going to get started right away, but I want to tell you a little bit about myself and what you can expect today. You're like, yeah, okay. Well, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I'm certified. I got my apprenticeship through the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of America. I've been in thousands and thousands of homes working on stuff like you have. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to find out why you don't have any hot water. To do that, I'm going to go through my diagnostic and safety checklist here, make sure that everything's working like it's supposed to, find anything that's not. Everything on the plumbing system is going to be rated red, yellow, green. Green is good. Yellow means it's an issue that will cause a future problem. Red means it's broken, unsafe, or causing property damage. We're going to have to take care of it immediately. When I'm finished with that, it'll take about maybe 45 minutes. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to put together some options and pricing in writing for you for anything that's yellow or red. We'll go over everything together. You have a membership with us, so you're going to save 15, or if it's a new customer, you wouldn't say that. But we'll go everything together. You'll get to decide what we do. I won't do anything without your permission. And all our work is guaranteed 100%. How does that sound? Okay, great. So that's quick, in a nutshell, rote repetition of what that would sound like for a new customer. For an existing customer that I've been to before, it's going to sound like this. Well, James, of course, you may not remember about me, but just to remind you, I've been doing this a while. Yeah, that's what you told me last time. Yeah, so I'm certified in thousands of homes. And, of course, our company, you've been with us for 3 years now, and I've been here a few times. So, we take care of you, and we've helped thousands of other customers just like you. So you remember last time we did the checklist and the colors. Yeah. Red's bad and yellow is something. Yeah, yellow's an issue that causes a future problem. Oh, yeah, I remember that. I'm glad you guys do that. Okay, well, just like last time, probably take me about 45 minutes, and then when I come to you, I'm going to have any recommendations and options for any reds or yellows, and we'll talk about it, and you get to decide what we do. And you're a member, so you're going to save some money today no matter what we do. So thank you for that. How does that sound? That's what it's going to sound like. Right. You're reminding them. You're not going through rote repetition of the same script. You're reminding them of the things, and you are giving them the benefit of a good assumption here that they know.
Right.
Because even if they don't know, they've been through it before, and they know they probably should know.
Right.
And you're not explaining to them like they're idiots and they've never heard it before. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt, but you're also giving them enough information that you're covering it too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to hit that. So again, we didn't take out any part of that. We just modified it. We made it familiar, and that's what we got to do. So if you want to know more about this, we do have some blogs and things and other podcasts we've done touching this topic. www.serveextra.com. www.serveextra.com, servextra.com. If you want to talk to me, Elmore at serveextra.com or 254-733-7109. If you want to talk to Flat Top Truck,
254-230-5266 or James at serveextra.com.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've managed to get through this far.
Yes.
What do we do here at Service Excellence?
At Service Excellence, we turn learning into earning. Flat top truck.
Bye, everybody. I was waiting on it.
Flat top truck.
That was so funny. I can't believe you did that.